Management tries to fire me. I turn the tables. From user The Matt Green. After that, make my life heck at multiple jobs? I'll get you fired. From user Arwin Flynn. And then we'll be wrapping up with I can fine you too. From user Skies Down Below. Thank you so much to our posters for letting us read your stories. And if you would like us to read your stories next, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And if you're new, please subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories every single day. Management tries to fire me, I turn the tables. This story is totally true. I think I still even have some of the certificates of appreciation in storage. I am not sure why some find it so unbelievable that a person wouldn't keep files and act professional. I have no reason to lie. I just wanted to share a true account of how I was almost fired and turned the tables on a bad supervisor and manager. I had a manager try and fire me for being rude to a caller. The caller wanted us to call internationally to confirm insurance. I asked the current floor supervisor if we could, and he said no, so I told the caller we couldn't. She ended the call, and I went to ask the supervisor if there was anything we could do and was told we could not. I asked him to email that answer to me, and he did. I got called in and was told that I was unprofessional on the phones and that I was not following correct procedures and that I was being investigated with consideration that I would be fired. My supervisor had no spine, so was in agreement that I needed to be fired. I was told we do not ever tell a member no, and that she had spoken with the supervisor who told me to say no, and he denied it and claimed I never asked him. Luckily, I had 3 years of weekly emails I saved and printed out that showed me every Thursday asking my supervisor if I was doing okay on the phones, how I could improve, and if there were any classes I could take to improve my skill and knowledge. Every reply was praise and how well I was doing, how I was being considered as or doing well as a trainer. I became one after a year and had reviews of my work attached. Every single QA review gave me 100% scores, and I was the only one on the whole team who consistently got 100% reviews. I also had a large file full of customer compliments where they asked to speak with a supervisor to praise my work, and then I am given a certificate. I also included the email from the supervisor who instructed me to say no. I quietly put all this together in an inch-thick file and made 3 copies. I was called back to discuss my reprehensible behavior and to review calls I had made as evidence of my bad service. As we listened, the manager pointed out how cold and emotionless I sounded. I agreed that it could have been taken this way if one were to look for a problem, but my phone voice is always calm and careful so that I am easily understood. I have been told how much it is appreciated by our callers since we mostly deal with the elderly and doctors' offices, and they appreciated that my information was clearly presented, since misunderstandings can be very bad. I had customer compliments that often included appreciation for the way I spoke. 3 out of 5 of the calls we reviewed, she said were the worst interactions she had ever heard. I said that was odd since I had a certificate for all 3 calls, signed by my supervisor and her, and certificates weren't given out until the call was listened to. The other 2 problematic calls were ones where I had received a 100% score by the QA department. So I asked, well, my supervisor is telling me weekly that I am doing the best on the team. The QA department is telling me I am always meeting 100% of my goals, and the customers are giving me positive reviews. So, if my attitude has been such a problem for so long, why wasn't it addressed before? No answer. I demanded to know why this issue was allowed to continue for so long. The manager asked me to return to my desk, but asked that I leave my folder of evidence for review, which I did. I went to lunch, and when I returned, I was told there was a computer error that wiped my email profile and all saved emails from my email account, and my computer had been reformatted to fix the error. I asked the supervisor about it, and she said she needed to talk to the manager. I was called in again and told that without any evidence to back up my claims of 100% QA scores and my customer appreciation certificates, they had no choice but to move forward. I asked where my printed copy went to, and manager claimed she didn't have it and that I had never given her a copy. So I pulled out another copy of all the paperwork and explained that deleting it off my computer didn't delete my copies, nor the copies she had no access to on the company cloud, which is where I backed up my information daily. Something that was so uncommon, the supervisor didn't even know it was something we could do. I then asked for an HR representative, and manager said I waived my right to having an HR rep present when I didn't ask for one at the start of this mess. I said the matter should be put to rest, and manager said she was the one who decided this, as she was the one in charge. She also handed me a write-up and demanded I sign it. I took the time to read it, and of course, it had me admitting that I was 100% at fault and that I would not retaliate in the slightest, regardless of action. It wasn't even on the company's disciplinary form. It was written in Word. I was done. I decided to just go with the nuclear option. Instead of quietly trying to talk to HR, I went far above their heads. I grabbed the write-up and walked out. Manager went to stop me until she saw me walk into the office of the director of all the call centers in the company, a guy who was magnitudes above her and who I was on friendly terms with. He asked what was up, and I told him that manager was in the process of trying to fire me. I gave him the write-up and my folder of evidence, and he went from friendly disinterest to dead serious. 30 minutes later, he finished reviewing everything and said, "Follow me." We returned to the manager's office, and she turned white when director told manager to call in supervisor and HR. He kept asking her what she was trying to do, why she was going after me, and why she felt it was okay to try and delete evidence from my computer. He never yelled. He would ask her a question and then patiently wait for an answer, which she couldn't give. Whenever she would bring me up or look at me, director would say something like, "No, don't look at him. You and I are talking right now." When supervisor arrived, he did the same to her. No answers, just stammering and half excuses. HR arrived, and manager jumped to speak over me to give her side. Supervisor did the same once manager was done. They were clearly trying to run out the clock since HR was a small department and had blocked out time for meetings. I finally mentioned this, and the HR person said that they had canceled all other meetings today and she would be there for as long as it took to get to the bottom of the issue. Manager looked enraged. Supervisor looked pale and terrified. I was then taken to a separate office to give my side. Manager said she had the right to be there, and the director told her and supervisor that they had the right to sit there and wait. Both were told they were not to leave until he told them they could, because both were known to disappear and go home if any problems happened on the floor. HR, director, and I had a nice chat. We went over my evidence and call history, listened to the call that started the whole landslide, and then asked if there was anything I think I could have done better. I said that I could have asked a different supervisor for help. I used the HR person's laptop to pull up my stuff I had saved on the cloud, and there it was. Document after document proving my side. Emails from supervisor, emails from manager, all praising me. Proof of my 100% QAs, everything. Director was almost gleeful that he had finally had something concrete, because there had been complaints about the manager and supervisor, but those complaining never did anything. He called the QA manager in and got a statement about my QA scores and how I was professional 100% of the time, and pulled in supervisors from other teams who confirmed I was a pleasure to work with and always went above and beyond to help. It felt pretty good to know I was actually appreciated by people who matter. You don't get that often in a call center environment. They agreed I had done nothing wrong and asked that as far as they were concerned, the matter was closed for me. But they would be looking into manager and supervisor. They couldn't tell me anything officially, of course. Manager and supervisor got official disciplinary actions with threat to terminate if they were caught doing this again, ever. The supervisor was demoted and transferred out of the department completely. I heard that it basically ruined her career with the company since the actions were so serious. Manager ended up moving to a different office at a lower pay and about 40 minutes farther from her home because her actions against me opened the floodgates against her, and she could be fired or take the far worse position. She ended up quitting after about a month. Why did supervisor and manager decide they hated me? I don't know exactly what caused it, but apparently they had problems with me for a couple years and would talk to other employees about me behind my back about what a lazy and bad employee I was. Of course, some people agreed. That's the nature of the beast. But it was rewarding to know that most of them disagreed. Keep your paper trail, folks, and be friendly with upper management. Next, we've got make my life heck at multiple jobs, I'll get you fired. Backstory. In the early 2000s, I worked for overpriced CD store. I really liked my job aside from one coworker, Karen. We just didn't get along. I made the best of it, but she was a borderline bully. Of course, she gets promoted to key holder and proceeds to turn into a full-blown power trip bully. She made my life heck, and a job that I previously loved, I couldn't stand anymore. I made a formal complaint that made its way to HR, but I was done working there, which was her goal. Of course, when HR investigated my claims, they found she and the assistant manager were dating. Oops. And she was moved to another store since fraternizing was against policy. Apparently, she didn't like that store and quit. A few months later, I was happily working at defunct bookstore. And who gets a job at the defunct bookstore at another mall? Karen. Over the next few months, she proceeds to do little things to annoy me, like hanging up when I would call their store for a customer, or leave me on hold forever. Of course, I would get in trouble for not effectively handling the customer with their needs. The revenge. About 6 months into the job, I heard through the grapevine of store gossip that Karen had been injured in a car accident. Apparently, she had hurt her back and went on medical leave. She couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes at a time without excruciating pain. This is important. She was on indefinite leave, and her store could not hire anyone to replace her while on medical leave, leaving them short-handed. And I knew her manager was really annoyed after a few months. 2 months later, a few friends of mine and I decided to go play pool. A former coworker, Rick, from the overpriced CD store was there. Rick: Man, too bad you weren't here last night. It would have been a reunion. Karen and her assistant manager were here playing pool. Me: Karen was playing pool? Rick: Oh yeah, they come in every Wednesday night. Really? That's interesting. Every Wednesday, huh? How long has this been going on? A few months now. Yes. For the entire time she was on medical leave, Karen was out playing pool once a week, not at home in debilitating pain like she claimed. The next day, I went to her defunct bookstore and asked to speak to the manager. I told him all about her weekly pool sessions and encouraged him to be at the pool hall the next Wednesday night to catch her in action. That Thursday, she was fired. The last time I saw her, she and her friend were attempting to follow me home from work. I called the police and led them into the police station, where they told her to leave me alone or be arrested. She stayed away from me after that. And our final story of the day: I can find you too. This is a story of my cousin. He used to work as a parking officer a few years ago. The following story happened to him, and his response seemed befitting to this subreddit. One day, my cousin was off shift and in his civilian clothing. He was simply shopping for groceries at the supermarket that evening. Once he left the supermarket, He went back to his car and loaded the trunk with his groceries. He proceeded to put the key in the ignition and start the car. Before he was able to exit his parking space, he got blocked by another car, meaning to stop him from leaving his parking spot. Then comes out a guy who was trying to confront my cousin, knocked on his window, and ordered him to step out of the vehicle while flashing a badge. Turns out, he is an undercover cop in civilian clothes driving in an unmarked vehicle. My cousin complied and stepped out. Jerk. Seems that you have quite the beast of a ride there, my friend. Cousin. It's only a family SUV, officer. I'm not quite sure about that. I heard some unusual sounds from your engine as you pulled over. I suspected you might have installed some illegal performance modifications on your vehicle. I assure you I haven't. My car is in perfect stock condition. Well, I had to make sure, so I waited for you until you got back and turned the ignition again. And I do believe there might be a few modifications to your car now that I heard it again. I'm pretty confident that I did not install any modifications on my car. Feel free to check under the hood. My cousin pops the hood open. Well, what do we have here? You modified your air intake system. That's a stock intake. What makes you even think that this is a modified one? And now my cousin is starting to get mad and questioning his competence at what he is claiming to know. Look, dude, I'm not sure you even know what you're talking about here. Oh, I know. I knew it since I heard your unusual engine. I know you're packing. Why would anyone even modify a family SUV like it was a street race car? I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, I'm issuing you a ticket for this. You are issuing me a ticket for something you clearly are not experienced in? Look, buddy, you're trying to plant fictional modifications in my car, and I have the hood wide open for you. So please drop the act or call in another officer who has more experience than you in these matters. I don't think that's necessary. I'm pretty confident your air intake is modified, and I am experienced enough in these matters. The jerk officer now proceeds to head back to his car to grab out the ticket book. This is where the sweet revenge starts. Cousin is furious and decides to retaliate. Cousin heads back to his car as well to grab his own ticket book. When they were facing each other again, the jerk was surprised to see a ticket book in Cousin's hands. What is happening here? I'm writing you a ticket too. Wait, you're an officer too? And what are you writing me for? Yes, I'm a parking officer. I'm writing a ticket for illegal parking in a driveway and obstructing a parking space and the exit of other vehicles. I'm not doing that. I'm right here by my car, and I'm available to move it out of the way. I'm only obstructing your exit to carry out my duty until I issue a violation. You're not allowed to do that unless you are in a government vehicle. This is a government vehicle. It's not. It's a civilian car with a public license plate. Sorry, the government vehicle exemption doesn't apply to you in this case. The fine is coming out of your pockets, buddy. I'm just going to appeal to court about this then. The government will just waive your ticket. You can try that, buddy. If it works, you are welcome to come back to me and spit in my face. Here's what's gonna happen. You take your ticket to court. You plead not guilty on account that I can't find government vehicle. The rules for undercover cops is that if they are in unmarked vehicles, they are fully responsible for any accidents or violations as long as you have your sirens hidden and dispatch hasn't sent you, which is true in my country. The car is currently treated as a civilian car since those conditions don't apply. Therefore, you are responsible for this violation. As for my ticket, I'm going to appeal to court as well. The court will assign another experienced officer to inspect my car. Since I'm confident that I didn't modify my car in any way and you're full of crap, I'm getting this ticket waived. This will also possibly get reported and posted in your file at your police station for falsifying violations. My guess is that you're just trying to fill a ticket quota for a promotion or something. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is you messed with the wrong guy. The jerk officer's face was reddening with anger, and my cousin shoved his ticket in his hand and tried to grab the one out of his. Jerk was reluctant in handing out the ticket, seeing that the outcome was going to backfire at him. So my cousin yanked it out of his hand and went inside his vehicle. Cousin rolls down window. "If you will excuse me now, I need you to move your vehicle. I have a wife and a baby son waiting to be fed." Jerk was mumbling as he walks to his vehicle, while my cousin left smiling. And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day: Subaki of Melancholy, Joey, Catherine, and Jennifer. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by dropping as many Rees as you can in the comments below.